Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel ForexPnL. Today is Saturday, the 6th of August 2022. It's 8:40 a.m. and it's time for me to do my weekend Forex forecast for the upcoming week. As usual guys, we're going to be kicking things off by taking a look at the economical calendar, then DXY, the majors, a few cross pairs that are giving me a structural level to keep an eye on, and then finally I'm going to be reviewing gold. Okay, all right, so without any further delays guys, let's get it started. Now I'm going to be taking a look at Forex Factory, okay, for us to take a look at the economical calendar. And now I have actually filtered the calendar for high impact news and bank holidays, as you can see here. And well, very light week from a fundamental perspective. Okay, you can see the whole of Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we don't have anything on the agenda from a high impact news perspective. Okay, and then on Wednesday, we do have the CPI data coming from the United States axis. And we do have bank holiday from the from Japan, and then PPI data on Thursday, and then on Friday we do have the GDP data coming from the British axis, and you know, that's pretty much what we have on the economical calendar for next week. Okay, very light in my opinion, and these are pretty much my best type of weeks. Okay, and well, without any further delays, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the charts while keeping these fundamentals in mind. Okay. Now, taking a look at the DXY, okay, as usual, we're going to be starting from the weekly time frame. What do we have from a weekly time frame? Well, as anticipated, guys, price actually bounced from that particular daily demand zone area. You can see we did get a bullish week, and price bounced off of that trend line that we have also in this rising channel that we have on the daily time frame. Okay, from a candle perspective, not much in my own opinion, but in general the bulls are in these markets, and I'm seeing a situation whereby the bulls are going to continue doing their thing next week, okay, for another week, you know, another bullish week. All right, now I'm taking a look at the daily time frame. Now the picture becomes clearer. Obviously we did get this you know, push to the downside to test this demand zone and also this trend line right around that 10500 institutional price level, and you can see we did get this outside bar, okay, this bullish outside bar formation, which in my own opinion was the first indication that the bulls are in these markets, and most likely we are going to get another push to the downside, I mean to the upside. Okay, now you can see the bears came into these markets just to retrace, to retest the demand zone again, and on Friday, non-farm payroll, you know, the bulls came back into these markets, and right now it's looking as if we are most likely going to be going to the upside, at least for a possible retest of this previous swing high area, okay, or even possibly the top of this particular channel right around 110 area. Okay, so let's see how that goes. But in my opinion, it's now looking bullish again. Okay, now if we take a look at the 4 hours time frame, very key levels to keep an eye on in my own opinion. Okay, we still have key levels of resistance on these charts that need to be taken off. You can see this particular selling origin in the 4 hours time frame has been holding price, and you can see that's the reason whenever price gives us a dip back into that particular selling origin, we get the bears coming to this market. You see a couple of times that has happened now, but you notice that now we are forming higher lows, okay, and higher highs. Okay, so we are getting that increased bullish momentum, but at the same time we still have this key area of resistance, okay, just sitting below 107 institutional price level that needs to be taken out, okay, for the bulls to really lay a claim in this particular market. So in my own opinion, well, is it possible that price might give us a dip to the downside into this buying origin? Well, it's very possible, towards 10600 institutional price level. Okay, price can easily give us a dip towards 10600 institutional price level, and then from there we might now get the energy to muscle past this particular level of resistance that we have right around 10700. But until 10700 gives way, in my own opinion, it's still going to be quite risky to be going long. Okay, but any dips towards 10600, in my opinion, you know, it's very possible that from right around here the bulls are going to come back into this particular market. Okay, well, it all depends. Also, the markets can open next week, and from right around here we just get a little pullback and then get a break above this 10700. Okay, but again, anytime we break 10700, all I would do is just to zoom into the smaller time frames and start searching for demand zones that led to that break of structure, you know, to continue riding this thing back to the upside. Okay, all right, so that's pretty much what I can can see here in the case of DXY. Now, next up is going to be US dollar Swiss francs. Now, for US dollar Swiss francs, this one worked near to perfection. If you guys remember, I had mapped out this key level of structure on our charts, and I told you guys right around that 0.9450 area, I would love to see this market give us a push to the upside. Okay, we did manipulate below this area to grab liquidity and to dip into this particular level of structure that was broken, and you can see that from right around there, the bulls have now come into this market, to start pushing this market again to the upside, okay, as anticipated. Now, if we go into the daily time frame, well, not much. Obviously, an outside bar formation, price pulls back, and we are now resuming to the upside again, showing increased bullish momentum in my own opinion. But again, like I said, if we go into the 4 hours time frame, we do have this key level of resistance, as you can see on our charts, okay, right around that 0.9650 area. Now you can see it was working as support, resistance, and resistance. Okay, so what I want to see here is obviously for this market to give me a break above this level of resistance that we have around 0.9650 area. Whenever that happens, if we get a clean break, that is when I'm going to start zooming into the smaller time frames to search for demand zones that led to the break of that level of structure, and aim to trade from those particular demand zones area. Okay, so let's see how that goes. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what I would love to see in this particular currency pair as we go into next week. Now, that's really it for US dollar Swiss francs. Now, next up is going to be Euro US dollar. Now, Euro US dollar behaved almost near perfection. Okay, if you guys remember, we were waiting for price to give us a liquidity grab, okay, above these particular highs that we have in this area, these equal highs, and I told you guys price can easily give us a quick dip to the upside just to grab liquidity above those highs, above the trend line, right around 1.0300 institutional price level, and from there the BS can come into this market, and you can see that's pretty much how this market has played. And in the process, you can see that this is now giving us that outside bar formation retest, and now we are looking as if we're continuing to the downside, so looking more bearish than bullish in my own opinion. And well, if we zoom into the 4 hours time frame, and just like the other crosses, you can easily say that maybe euro dollar is even trading in a range at this moment, okay, because we have not gotten a break to the downside. Okay, you can see this level that is working as some support, and this area here that is working as resistance. So what I would love to see in this particular currency pair right now, before I start really searching for short opportunities, is for price to give me that break below this particular round number, right around 1.01 institutional price level. Okay, if price gives us that break to the downside, then I'll be zooming into smaller time frames to search for the demand zone that led to the break of that level of structure, and then from there I'll be looking for an opportunity to ride this thing back to the downside. Okay, now also there's a possibility that the market opens and we first of all get some bullish move to give us a nice push into this particular selling origin that we have in this area, from where the BS came into this market just before non-farm payroll, and then from there it's very, very possible, because we do have a trend line in that area and then a selling origin from that area as well. So from there, it wouldn't be surprising if that is where the BS will come into this market to start pushing to the downside. Okay, but all in all, the confirmation for me to the downside will be a break below this level of structure that we have in this particular area, right around 1.0100 institutional price level. Okay, so if you want to be very conservative, then you might want to wait for that level to give way and then start searching for your short opportunities. Okay, all right, so that's pretty much it for Euro US dollar. Now, next up is going to be Australian dollar US dollar. Now, for Australian dollar US dollar, well, I was actually keeping an eye at, I think, let me see, 0.7100, but price didn't quite make it to that level. You can see that, well, you see if the bears are now coming back slowly into this particular market. Not much in my own opinion. If we go into the 4 hours time frame, very similar story to the case of euro dollar. You can see that the bears are coming into this market. If we plot this particular trend line that was taking price to the upside, you can see that this is the trend line. See the bounce. We did get a massive break of that particular trend line, pullback, continuation, and then they had to push price to the upside, obviously, for a bigger retest of that particular trend line. And you can see that from there, the bears have now come into this market. We've taken off this low, but in my own opinion, the key level of resistance is still, or support in this case, is still right around this particular area, this 0.6875 area. Okay, so what I'd love to see next week, maybe a possible push to the upside into this particular our one supply zone area, and then maybe from there the bears might come into this market. But in my own opinion, personally, I would love to see this level give way. Okay, this level of support that I have mapped out, I would like to see it give way to downside When that happens, in my own opinion, any pullbacks towards this area, I'll be looking for demand zones that led to the break of this level of structure, and then from there I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. Okay, that's going to be my game plan for Australian dollar, US dollar as we go into next week. Now next up is going to be US dollar, Canadian dollar. Now US dollar, Canadian dollar looking more bullish than bearish at this point. As you can see here, well, we are in this rising channel in the weekly time frame. Price didn't quite make it into the daily weekly demand zone area, but from what I'm seeing right now in the smaller time frame, chances are the bulls are now coming into this market in momentum. You can see that this week we did get that bullish outside bar formation, and you know, in my opinion, that's an indication that the bulls might now be back in this market, and we might be looking at another potential swing to the upside. Okay, now if we go into the daily time frame, not much in my own opinion. This previous level of resistance that we have in this area has now given way to the upside, and in my own opinion, the picture is clearer in the 4 hours time frame. As you can see right here, we've given way to the upside. Okay, you can see all these levels of structure, levels of resistance that we have in this time frame, all of them, you know, have now been broken to the upside with this single move to the upside. Okay, and well, price just tapped into right around that will I say 1.29, actually didn't get 1.30, just probably tapped into this selling origin that we have here, and you can see we are now getting a little retracement. So in my own opinion, the bulls in this particular markets right now, markets are now forming higher highs and higher lows, which in my own opinion is indicative of an uptrend. So well, a pullback is in order in my own opinion. Chances are that we might get a push to the downside into this particular demand zone area that we have around 1.2900 institutional price level, and then anywhere from right around here, you know, chances are that the bulls are going to come into this market to continue pushing this market to the upside. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Now that's pretty much what I can see. This is that demand zone that we have on the hourly time frame. You can see this was the level of resistance, and finally we get that break to the upside. So let's see if we're going to get that pullback into this area and then a nice push to the upside that can take off from there. Okay, so let's see how that goes. That's pretty much it for US dollar, Canadian dollar. Now next up is going to be New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Now for New Zealand dollar, US dollar, quite similar to the case of Australian dollar, US dollar, so I'm not going to waste your time in this particular setup. Simply put, guys, if we go into the 4 hours time frame, we do see this clear level of support on our charts. Okay, price continues to respect this particular demand zone right here that led to the break of this level of structure, and you can see that that's the demand zone that the market has been respecting. So right now, in my own opinion, again, just like in the case of Australian dollar, US dollar, it's looking as if the bears are now in this market. Okay, and well, my own confirmation will be for price to give me a break of this particular level right here, possibly even breaking this below this demand zone. That will be perfect, but I'll be keeping an eye for a break, a clear break below this particular level of structure. If that happens, in my own opinion, I'm going to be zooming into the smaller time frames to identify the demand zones that led to the break of this level of structure, and you know, for further continuations to the downside, okay, from those levels. So that's pretty much my game plan for New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Now next up is going to be British pounds and US dollar. Now for the case of cable, the markets are actually looking nice, moved as anticipated. If we go into the weekly time frame, what do we have here? Not much from a candle formation perspective, in my own opinion. From the daily time frame, still not much. We still have price stuck in this particular area. Okay, you can see that we do have some form of demand from these areas. Okay, because this push right here took off this level of structure, okay, this particular level of structure. So we still have some buyers in this market, at least at this particular point. So I wouldn't really be surprised if cable still gives us maybe some form of bullish push to the upside. Okay, but if you zoom into the 4 hours time frame, you will see that the markets are now pretty much changing to the to the downside. Okay, we have this previous trend line that we had in this particular area, and that trend line has now given way to the downside. Notice how we got this very beautiful bearish candle that gave us a clear break below that particular trend line, and since then the market has remained below that. Non-farm payroll, we got another push to the downside that broke this level of structure. So actually, in the case of cable, you can see that this particular level right here, this level of structure has been broken to the downside. Okay, and this is the demand zone that price is now pretty much respecting at this point. Has actually traded below that particular demand zone. So in my opinion, this is a very solid supply zone to keep an eye on as we go into next week. Probably draw some form of trend line in here, and well, it's very possible that we might get some push to the upside into this particular supply zone area that we have, maybe 2130 area. Any push to this particular area, in my opinion, would be a very high quality area to start searching for short opportunities for further continuations to the downside. Okay, so that's pretty much what I can see right now in the case of British pounds and US dollar as we go into next week. Okay, now in the event that the market just opens and from here we just continue to shoot to the downside, clearly taking off this level of resistance of support that we have in this area, then I'll be zooming into smaller time frames to identify supply zones for further continuations to the downside. Okay, so those are the two price actions that I'm going to be paying attention to as we go into next week, or that I would love to see as we go into next week. Okay, at the end of the day, the market can do whatever it wants to do. Our job as traders is just to manage our risk, read price action, and trade according to our trading plan. Okay, all right, that's pretty much it for British pounds and US dollar. Next up is going to be US dollar Japanese yen. Now for US dollar Japanese yen, well, this particular currency pair, we do have a weekly demand zone area here, but what are the chances that the markets will make it to this area next week? Well, quite slim in my own opinion. You can see that after this dip to the downside to retest this previous level of structure, the markets gave us a very nice push and we ended the week a bullish candle. Okay, probably even a bullish pin bar if you want to call it that. Okay, now in my opinion, the bulls are in this market at this point, with the break of this level of structure. Okay, so in my opinion, this market is looking bullish. At the same time, we do have obviously this level of supply right here that led to the break of all these levels of structure to the downside. So keep an eye on this particular area here, because from right around there, the bears can come into this market and react to the downside again. Okay, so that's pretty much what I can see from the daily. Now if we go into the 4 hours time frame, you notice that we did have this supply zone area, price dipped in, and from there we got a push to the downside, and then later in the week we got another dip. Price acted as if we're going to respect that supply zone, and then finally yesterday, non-farm payroll, boom, to the upside. The markets gave us a very nice push, breaking above that level of structure. So that's probably the first indication that we might be looking towards going to the upside. Now the question is, are we going to get a pullback, maybe deep into this particular buying origins that we have in this area right around 133.50 before the bulls come back into this market to head to the upside towards the supply zone area that we identified on the daily chart? Okay, or will the markets just open and maybe we get just a little retracement? Okay, one second. Or we get just a little retracement down into these particular areas, and then from here maybe a quick push to the upside into this particular daily supply zone. So only time can tell, but from what I'm seeing right now, it's looking more bullish than bearish. If we go into, let's say, the hourly time frame, I really don't see any levels. I'll personally be keeping an eye on a possible pullback towards this 133.50 area, these demand zones that we have in this area. In my own opinion, I would love to see a push of this nature, and then from here, search for long opportunities in this particular currency pair for further continuations to the upside. Okay, that's pretty much what I can see in the case of US dollar Japanese yen. Now, next up is going to be GJ. GJ is looking quite similar to the US dollar Japanese yen. This pair has just been forming a lot of indecision, guys. If you see wicks to the upside, just keeps throwing wicks to the upside and to the downside. Obviously stuck right now on a daily range. Okay, it's a very weird range in my own opinion. You can see this is the level to the upside, another horizontal level to keep an eye on here, and obviously a level of support in this area. Okay, so in my own opinion, these are pretty much the levels that I'm going to be keeping an eye on as I trade this particular currency pair as we go into next week. Okay, so not much. You can see price give us a push to the downside, grab liquidity below these lows that we have in this area, deep inside this buying origin that we have here that led to this nice push to the upside that led to the break of this level of structure. Okay, so looking more bullish than bearish, to be honest with you, from these particular areas. This 160-100 area continues to work as support in this particular currency pair, and chances are we are probably on our way to the upside, maybe towards 169 areas. Okay, towards the top of this particular range. But obviously, before we get to that area, we have to obviously respect these other levels that we have in this area and trade accordingly. Now, if we go into the 4 hours time frame, what do we have here? We do have the supply zone area. You can see price give us that quick dip into that particular supply zone area, and from there we got a quick push to the downside. However, notice how the bulls have now come into this particular market again. Yes, we are yet to take off this level again, but in my opinion, we are getting from some significant bullish momentum. So chances are the market opens, we probably get a push to the downside into this particular level of structure that we have in the hourly time frame. Okay, I'm probably going to zoom into for you guys to see, and then from there maybe we get an attack to the upside that will eventually take off this particular level of structure that we have here, this level of resistance right around 16400. And if that happens, in my opinion, we'll probably wait for some pullback to retest demand zones before the markets probably give us an attack of that 166.50 area. Okay, this resistance area that we have here. Okay, so that's going to be my preferred course of action, because it's looking as if the bulls are in this market, and you can easily see that we might be getting some form of trend line formation right around here as well. So just use this as a guide, in my own opinion, as you trade this particular currency pair. Okay, so that's pretty much what I can see right now in British pound, some Japanese yen, as we go into next week. Now, next up is going to be the few cross pairs. I'm not going to waste time here. Quite similar in this case, euro yen. If we see euro yen, you notice we do have this level of supply, this supply zone area, and well, in the case of euro yen, this is the 4 hours time frame. Notice how price has now given us a break of this level of resistance. Okay, this level of structure that we have here, price has broken that particular area. So right now, chances are we're going to get some form of a pullback to retest the demand zone that led to the break of that level of structure, and then from there the markets might give us another push to the upside into this particular supply zone area that we have in this particular currency pair, probably maybe right around 13900 institutional price level. Okay, so that's pretty much what I can see right now. If we go into the hourly time frame, this is the price action. Actually, this is not a very good level. Let me take this off. Okay, I personally will be keeping an eye on this particular area right here. Okay, all right, so this is what I can see. You can see this is that level of resistance. This move gave us that break to the upside. Okay, breaking those levels of structure. So is it possible we might get a push to the downside into this particular area, and then from right around here, guys, any reactions to the upside, in my opinion, you know, the bulls are going to come into this market from those levels, okay, to continue pushing to the upside. Now that's it for euro yen. Next up is going to be British pound, some Swiss francs. Now for British pound, Swiss francs, well, if we go into the 4 hours time frame, well, I continue to wait for the break of this the bottom of this flat bottom triangle. Okay, we did get a very quick price traded above this particular trend line to the upside, just in my opinion enough to grab liquidity above this area just to stop out early sellers, and you can see that from there we dove back in again to the downside. So again, I'm only interested in trading this setup upon the break below this low, the low of the flat bottom triangle at 115.25 areas. Okay, so personally, like I said, I'll be waiting for price to give me that break to the downside, breaking clear below these lows, and then upon any pullbacks, I'll be looking for you know, price to retest supply zones in the smaller time frame for further continuations to the downside. Okay, so this is still on my radar as we go into next week. Now next up is going to be Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Again, similar to the other yen crosses, in this particular case, if we go into the weekly time frame, you notice that price came pretty close to this particular demand zone area that we have on the weekly, but we didn't quite tap in, and you can see the bulls came in from that level, and we have closed this week a pin bar. Now the question now is, are we going to make another visit to the downside into this demand zone area before the bulls take off finally, maybe just enough to manipulate below these equal lows that we have in this area? Okay, who knows? This is quite tricky in my own opinion. All right, so let's keep an eye on this, but at the same time, if the market opens and we begin to see significant bearish push, okay, in the first few days of the week, then chances are the markets will probably continue bearish, maybe towards these lows, just to tap into this demand zone, grab liquidity below these equal lows, tap into this demand zone before we take off to the upside. Okay, so keep that in mind, that is also a possibility in this particular currency pair. Now if we go into the 4 hours time frame, you notice that we do have a very clear level here in this particular area, okay, right around 104.70. This supply zone continues to hold price below, you know, below that particular supply zone. So well, let's see what happens. Chances are the markets open and we might get a little push to the downside, but the confirmation for me would be for price to break above this particular level of a resistance that we have in here, that level of structure. When that happens, I'll be looking for price to pull back to retest demand zones that led to the break of that level of structure for further continuations to the upside in this particular currency pair. Okay, so that's it for Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Now, next up is going to be Euro New Zealand dollar. Now, I just wanted to point out this pair right now is trading within a range. You can see this is the range that this pair is trading in the 4 hours time frame, and right now we have retested the top of that range again. So, well, obviously, personally, I like to wait for the breakout of the range. So if we get price to break above this particular, let's say 163.50, a clear break above that area, I'll be waiting for price to give me a pullback into demand zones that led to the break of that level of structure for further continuations to the upside. And also, for if you trade the range, probably look for a way to ride this thing back again upon confirmations for further continuations to the downside. Okay, just wanted to point that out, but I like to trade the breakout of the range. Okay, that's pretty much what I prefer to trade. Now, I just wanted to put that out there because this is looking good in case you are interested in trading this type of setups. Now, the last but not the least, obviously, is going to be gold. Okay, so gold is, performing near perfection. Okay, if you guys remember last week, I told you guys that price is probably going to give us a nice push to the upside into this daily supply zone area, from where I will expect the bears to come into these markets, okay, for further continuations to the downside. And as you can see here, that is pretty much what has happened in this particular gold. As you can see here, we got that deep into this particular area, and from there you can see upon the release of the non-farm payroll, price gave us that rotation to the downside. Okay, we continue to trade within this falling channel on the daily charts, and also price has now pulled back again to retest this supply zone area that led to the break of this level of structure. So in my opinion, technically from the daily time frame, we are looking bearish. Okay, so let's see how that goes. So if we go into the 4 hours time frame, obviously we do have this retracement trend line. You can see that upon the release of non-farm payroll, price give us a very nice push to the downside to tap that trend line to perfection, and also to tap into this particular demand zone area that led to the break of this level of structure in the 4 hours time frame. So there's still some bulls left in this market as far as you are trading above this particular demand zone area and above this particular trend line. Okay, however, I'm not going to be so keen in going long right now. The only way you can see me going long in this particular gold is for price to give us a very clear push to the upside from here, taking off these areas, taking off this trend line, and taking off this daily supply zone. That is the only time, in my opinion, I'll be zooming into the smaller time frames to identify the demand zones that led to that break for further continuations to the upside. But for now, my preferred course of action, since price has now retested the daily supply zone area, will be to wait for price to give way, okay, to the downside, to take off this demand zone area that we have in the 4 hours time frame, okay, that led to the break of this level of structure. So personally, I would like to see price give me a push of this nature, because when that happens, we would have broken the trend line and would have also broken this demand zone area that we have in the 4 hours time frame. And then once that happens, guys, any pullbacks, I'll be looking for price to retest the supply zones that led to that break of structure, and then from there, in my opinion, I'll be riding this thing back to the downside. Okay, probably towards 1700 for now. Okay, all right, that's what I can see right now in gold, and hopefully you guys gain some value from this particular weekend forex forecast. And if you did, guys, please do not forget to click on that like button, subscribe to my channel, click on that notification bell so that you will always get updates whenever I post a video. That's it for now, guys. Cheers and enjoy your weekend. And most importantly, have a profitable trading week ahead. Bye-bye.